Whenever we're setting tree stands in a new area, there's two things we like to determine: where the deer are bedding and what they're feeding on. Now that'll change during the season. As the acorns and beech nuts start to drop, deer start feeding on these mast crops, their feeding patterns will change. But early in the season, these deer are usually feeding on field edges, on any agriculture that's in the area. So we like to target them coming from their bedding to feeding. You could always also do it the other way, where they're coming back from feeding, but it's really tough to get in the woods, especially early season, without being detected. So for us, it's usually an evening stand where the deer are coming from their bedding, going to the food. Once we've determined where the deer are bedding and where they're going to feed, we like to check out the wind direction. What's the dominant direction during that hunting season? Usually early in the season in this area, we have a southwest wind. That's a dominant wind here. It follows through most of the season. Occasionally we'll get that northwest or northeast wind later in the season, but early season it's usually southwest. So once we've determined the wind direction, we've checked out the topography, and some of the things that we look for is a hole in a stone wall, a drop off on a ridge where deer are going to travel on top of that ridge. They're going to come through a pinch point in a stone wall. Those are things I like to target. I start looking for a tree that's going to make all those things come together. And once we determine a tree we want to use for the dominant wind that's going to be in this area, we'll set our tree stand. But here in the Northeast where we live, although the tracts of land are small that we're hunting on, maybe 10, 20, 30 acres of property, there's 20 of those all attached. Now they're privately owned. The deer can move freely through all of them, but we can only hunt on the ones we have permission. So I need to utilize every square inch of this property whenever I'm hunting deer. And once we've determined multiple stand locations on a piece of property, it allows us to hunt that property in any wind conditions. And we started using last year the Tree Stand Buddy system. And these mounting brackets go on all the trees that we determined would be great for a stand location. I could walk into a piece of property with my tree stand on my back, have my bow, and determine that day exactly where I want it to sit, just determine what the deer movement is, what the wind conditions are for that day, and be able to choose any one of those stand locations, easily pull my stand into place and get it set for that afternoon's hunt. And by only having these tree stand brackets in the trees and not the actual stands, it really conceals our hunting locations, which is great for us here in the Northeast because we have a lot of hunters in the woods. It keeps your stand location down, and there's less chance of somebody coming by, stealing your stand. You get in that afternoon to go do your hunt, your stand is missing. I've had that happen to me before. But with these brackets, my stand is on my back and only this bracket is in the tree. Now that rope serves as an easy way to move this stand. I could take this stand down, go to my other spot, which also has a rope, hook up my stand, pull it up from the ground. If I'm alone, I don't have any trouble getting the stand reversed. You might have noticed on this tree stand setup that we use tree sticks for the first 10 feet. From that point on, I screw in tree steps. I know a lot of people don't like them, but they work real well in the Northeast, and I'll explain why. We have a lot of people pre-season and during the hunting season here in the Northeast going through the woods. The last thing I want to do is give up my stand location. So for me, because I have that rope and I can take my stand down, I then climb up, tie that rope off on the first screw-in tree step so it's out of anybody's line of sight. Take down these tree steps, and this way I know that when I come back here to hunt, I can, first of all, I can choose multiple stand setups because I have 3 brackets set up on this property alone. Set up my tree steps, climb up, get my rope, pull my stand up from the ground, place it in. I could do this all so quickly, so easily by myself. That's why the Tree Stand Buddy bracket works great for us, and it really will help anybody setting up near your stand location, and also keeps anybody, well, let's put it this way, keeps them honest and none of your stuff will disappear. The Tree Stand Buddy bracket comes with 2 ratchet straps that stay attached to the tree. But once you get your stand in place, use the strap that comes with your stand for added security. This stand is going nowhere. It was brought to my attention by my good buddy Paul that, hey, you can't see you're wearing a tree harness. Well, I've been using this climbing belt for 20 years. It's the same belt. I have multiple belts, the same type, and this is what I use. I've been using it for 20 years. I always make sure that I'm tied off whenever I'm setting up a tree stand, and you should do the same.
So I've been doing archery for only 6 years, but when I got into archery, I actually started working at a bow shop before I ever went hunting. Tuning bows, working on bows, that was what I learned how to do before I ever went in the woods. I've shot plenty of different bows, plenty of different types of setups, but the setup that I have is perfect for me. I shoot 60 pounds, a 29-inch draw, and with the setup that I shoot, I can take care of any whitetail within a 30-yard bubble. So it's November 1st now, and I can't believe the rut's already here, or it's definitely starting. There's signs of plenty of activity in the area. So I find a nice tree, I set up as quick as I can. I've got the wind for the most part in my favor. I'm in a spot where it's a pinch. They should be forced to come through here. I've got doe bedding to my right, and I have doe bedding across the valley from me.
I just hung a stand on a friend's property, not too far from where we live. And the border is pretty close. Straight out in front of me, I would say, pretty much where the ditch is probably where the property line is.
So I get set up, probably 5 o'clock, I start to hear some deer working from my left, exactly where I wanted them to come from. Nice doe comes out. I actually thought she was going to give me a nice broadside shot at about 20 yards, and I think I was at full draw for a good minute plus, just waiting for her to step out. Unfortunately, she doesn't, and I have to let down. And I redraw where she's at about 10 yards, and she looks away. There's actually some other deer coming in, but I was unaware of the situation. I was so focused on that doe, trying to get a good shot. She's looking away. I'm able to draw back, and it went perfect. She ran just a little ways and just tipped right over. Absolutely what you're looking for.
Well, I know it's the rut, but I sure like venison, and that's gonna be some tasty venison.
Not a lot of people would shoot a doe on November 7th. Again, I wanted to put some meat on the table, and because that's what it's all about. So it was perfect, biggest doe I've ever shot. Absolutely gorgeous deer, can't be happier. Another successful day, and that just rolled into the next day. That stand was still hung from the day before, and this beautiful deer comes in. I mean, it was quick, but you can hear him coming, and I get my bow ready, and he comes straight into me. Absolutely thought he was gonna come and give me a broadside shot, but just keeps coming straight to my stand. And at a short shot like that, 15 yards, I know my bow, and I felt very confident with where I put that shot. And he ran off a little ways and stumbled a little bit, and I said, if he's not going down just yet, I'm gonna put another one in him. I would better be safe than sorry and give that deer the best chance by putting another one in him. So I did that. He took off and didn't make it too much further. Fortunately, he ran off to the opposite hillside, and that's where we found him that evening. The owner of the land and his son came out and joined me and helped me drag the deer out. I would have never gotten that deer out by myself.
Look at that, you found him. I can't believe it.
He's big.
He's really big.
So I got my buddy Preston here and my friend Brian, and we found him. It's Brian's property. He's nice enough to let us come out and hunt, or let me come out and hunt, and I was extremely blessed today. I shot that doe yesterday, and I mean, I would never guess this would walk out today. So I'm super happy. Happy hunting to everybody out there, and be safe. So I've been breaking down my own deer since I've started hunting. That's the way I grew up, doing it with my father, and knowing the anatomy of a deer when you place a shot in an animal is so important. Knowing how those shoulder blades are set up, when that shot was placed, it felt right. I knew that I was going to be able to get that arrow slipped right in there. The internal breakdown of a deer is so important for knowing where we should be placing our shot. So absolutely blessed. Wisconsin has been mind-blowing with the opportunities, the difference in how to hunt it, and just the opportunities that are possible out there.